Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at the other most recent PNSO release, as we have Fergus the Acrocanthosaurus, and this is one that has been pretty much on everybody's wish list for a very long time to see PNSO take a stab at, and I must say that from the look of it so far, they have completely outdone themselves, and this might be the definitive version of an Acrocanthosaurus. And as you can see, again, the box art shows just the name down here, the Acrocanthosaurus. We've got a beautiful image of the figure contained within, as well as the PNSO logo. And then if we turn it around, up here on the top, we have another image of the head sculpt there of the Acrocanthosaurus, the PNSO logo. Of course, it's the same thing, on both sides. You always have that same image and artwork and everything. I don't know if there's anything else really going on aside from some information. We do have another small image of the Acrocanthosaurus over here, but this is definitely a very, very long-anticipated release from PNSO, so let's pop this out of the box and check it out. So straight away, as always, we have the booklet that is always contained within. I love the booklets from PNSO. I think they're always incredible when it comes to the amount of information and beautiful images you get. You always have a really cool photo gallery, but wow, that's really cool. I love that color scheme that they have for that Acrocanthosaurus. This is something that's been happening quite often, where I find an image inside these booklets and I'm like, boy, I really want to base a paint scheme on this. That's actually kind of similar to the paint scheme that we have, but just different tones of color used. But really cool booklet as always. Cannot wait to read this and check everything out here on the inside of this booklet. Love that these are always included, just showing that PNSO, on top of giving you an awesome figure, wants to give you a lot of awesome information and really cool imagery. And then we've got ourselves a poster, and it actually looks like it might be that same Acrocanthosaurus we just saw inside the booklet, potentially. So once we open this up, it absolutely is. You can see that it is definitely the Acrocanthosaurus image that we had just seen inside the booklet, looking just as beautiful as it did in there, but now at a much larger scale. Certainly a poster worth framing, as always, from PNSO. And then here is our Acrocanthosaurus, and it is just beautiful. Oh, wow, this is really nice. I had seen some images online of it, but I can tell you with complete confidence, the images that I had seen do not do this figure justice. This is so much nicer in person. The colors are actually really nice, really vibrant on this, and of course the sculpt is fantastic. I'm honestly at the point where I just really, really want to see a closer look at this. I've been looking forward to this one for quite a while. Long before it was ever announced, I was hoping for this to get released for an Acrocanthosaurus from PNSO. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at this gorgeous model. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see, again, pretty much always with PNSO, you find an incredibly highly detailed head sculpt, but something they've been doing a lot lately that I'm a huge fan of, and I don't even know if I should say lately, they've been doing it for a little while, is adding in some really nice kind of like tan or like white washes to certain areas, and I think it really highlights the detail, but also kind of gives the dinosaur almost like a dirty-like appearance, which really adds an element of realism to the figure, and I think you could see that it's very nicely done here on the head sculpt of the Acrocanthosaurus. You can see throughout these larger scales at the tip of the snout that wash is definitely present. You can see it here along the palate leading back here under the eye. You can see it here along the jawline as well. So they have applied a nice wash that certainly brings out the detail beautifully on the head sculpt of the Acrocanthosaurus. And there's also some really, really nice subtle color difference throughout. Like you can see a dark gray, almost like a black, I would say it's probably like a blackish tone or a very, very dark gray up here on the tip of the snout. But as you lead back here into the palate, you can see quite a few different variations of lighter and darker shades of browns. And you see that continue all throughout the rest of the face up here, which is really nice to see. There's also some fantastic detailing there around the eye socket area. Again, that wash seems to have been applied there as well. You can see we have an orangish eye with a black pupil, has a very nice realistic gloss coat to it, so it shines quite beautifully. You can see some more fantastic detailing for the lower jaw. We do have an articulated jaw on the Acrocanthosaurus as always, and the teeth are all sculpted individually, all beautifully painted. I love that PNSO always adds kind of like that brownish tone the closer to the gum line you get, and then a really nice off-white as you lead out toward the tips of the teeth. It just adds a little bit of a dirty element to the teeth, adding a lot of realism to that area as well. The inside of the mouth has a very nice tongue sculpt and just generally really nice detailing, like you can see right here on the skin flaps here of the side of the mouth. Nice light pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth as well. Actually some difference. You can see like it starts with a darker pink there at the beginning of the tongue leading out toward the tip. It lightens a little bit, so there is some color difference there. And as per usual, the inside of a mouth of a PNSO model is unreal. Look at that. That is just amazing. The detailing, I think, of the inside of the mouths as well as the paintwork of the inside of the mouths of PNSO models, in my opinion, far exceed anyone else currently producing models. That is just unbelievable amounts of detail in there, as well as a beautiful paint application and a really nice gloss coat to add. Again, even more realism, giving it that very nice saliva-like look. The articulated jaw also works really smoothly. You can see it pretty much opens and closes to any position you would like to display it at. And then up here on the top of the head, again, you can see some more really nice scale detail. But yet again, just like we saw on the face, it's brought out very nicely with that light wash, which looks great. As you start to lead back here into the neck, you can see that the coloration of the face, again, very, very dark tones. As we lead out into the body here, first of all, you see the ear sculpt right there, but you can see we transition to a very nice light brown. There's also some really nice creasing there in the neck, showing a slight turn to the head of the Acrocanthosaurus. And then we start to have like a very cool striping pick up that's from running from the top of the body here. And it's like a nice variation of a darker brown, but there are also some blacks that kind of like border around it and outline the stripes a little bit. But then you also start to see kind of like some really light tan spots picking up throughout. And again, it looks really cool. It's beautifully applied with an airbrush, so it's incredibly smooth as far as the application of the paint goes. You also see some ridges picking up here along the back of the neck, and you can see they all vary in size as you move down the course of the figure. The skin detail is phenomenal. The scale detail is so fine but so impressive looking. There's also some osteoderms here and there through the course of the neck. As you lead down here toward the throat, again, tons of skin wrinkles showing the movement of the dinosaur right there. You also have a nice lighter tone of color down here for the underside. You can pick up on the throat, very nicely elaborated, as well as a lot of skin wrinkles in that area. There are also some pinkish tones, which is something PNSO always does. And I love that because I think that's a very realistic aspect of their models. As you lead down a little further into the body, the arm sculpt looks awesome. Very nice muscle definition. Some more skin wrinkles there right behind the arm as the arm is held into the body. You can see the elbow is like almost pressing into the stomach region of the dinosaur, really wrinkling that skin up. PNSO always does a great job of showing off pretty much every ounce of movement on their figures, and you can actually see quite a bit of color difference through the course of the figure. I'm picking up on here now, looking at it again in this nice light. There's many different variations of lighter browns. Like this is a different shade of light brown than what we see here. There's also almost like a greenish tint to this coloration down here. So definitely quite a bit of very realistic skin tone to the figure, something I didn't pick up on in any of the promotional images, nor did I pick up on it on any of the images that I had seen of other people who were sharing theirs, and it's so much more impressive, I think, here in person. The hands do darken very smoothly to a dark gray as you lead out toward the nails. The fingers look great, but the nails also look kind of genuinely sharp, so they look nice, painted with a nice light gray kind of a tone of color. They almost have a little bit of a glossy look to them as well. You can see more of that pinkish tone here in the lower part of the stomach region. Some more really nice kind of osteoderms poking up here and there. You can see the brown stripes down into the side of the stomach region of our Acrocanthosaurus. He has a little bit of girth to the stomach, so he looks, fairly healthy, well-fed, but he doesn't look like he's overweight, nor does he look too thin. You can also see some nice skin wrinkles there as the thigh is pushing into the stomach region, very nicely wrinkling the skin up right there. Of course, you have more of those ridges running along the back, and that classic trademark look to the Acrocanthosaurus. You also have some nice muscle definition here in the thigh, as well as a plethora of skin wrinkles, whether it's the front of the thigh, down near the knee, the back of the thigh, showing off the skin pulling from the tail. Like, there's just a ton of movement shown there in the thigh of the dinosaur, as well as some nice color variation. We have more different variations and designs of that brown. You can see the kneecap right there. Very nice bulging calf muscle as the dinosaur walks along. Specifically, this leg should definitely be flexing that calf muscle as it is supporting a large amount of the weight of the dinosaur, since the opposing leg is picking up off of the ground currently. So this one should definitely be flexing quite nicely, and it certainly is. Moving down into the foot sculpt, yet again we can see it transition to a grayish tone. Very bird-like foot sculpt. Looks great. Very nicely painted nails. Again, just like we saw on the fingers. Kind of like a, it's not actually more like a, almost like a greenish tone more so than a gray. It looked kind of gray on the fingers, but looks more green on the feet. It looks really nice. And you can also see that we do have a dew claw on the opposing foot. Of course, we would have one here, but we just can't see it too well. There it is. You can see it right there. More skin wrinkles and stuff as you lead back up here. Again, super smooth transition from the lighter tone to the other variations of like greenish browns and stuff. And then as you lead out here into the tail, you start to see a transition in color from the stripes running down from the back to kind of like a reddish brown, like a darker brown. And it looks super, super nice on the figure. You also see again those ridges running along the back continue to alternate as far as the sizes go through the course of the tail. Very nice curve, nice natural curve. No real dramatic look to the tail or anything like that. You have a beautiful, very light tone for the underside as you run through. You can see that we do have a cloaca, and again some more pinkish tones throughout. Almost like a greenish tint to the underside of the Acrocanthosaurus as well, which looks really cool. And they never cease when it comes to their detail. You can see the detail looks phenomenal on the underside as well. Like it is just as highly detailed as it honestly can get. And then looking over here at the opposing side, you can see the head sculpt looks awesome. The paintwork looks just as great as it did on the initial side. So much color variation. There's also kind of like a reddish brown that runs along the crests right here on the top of the Acrocanthosaurus skull. And as you move back here into the neck, again, you can see a little bit less as far as the skin wrinkles and stuff here, because the skin would be stretching with the slight turn in the neck that we have going on right there. The paintwork continues to look super smooth, super appealing here through the course of the figure. I love how naturally applied the paintwork is. You can see again more variation of color with like the greenish tones in the stomach region on this side as well. You've got the arm in a slightly different position over here, not quite as far back into the body as we see on the opposing arm. You can see this one's leaning a little bit more forward, but you can again pick up on the muscle definition as well as some more skin wrinkles and stuff right there. More really nice skin wrinkles in the stomach region as well, and you can see the skin stretching off of the stomach very nicely as the dinosaur is taking a step and walking along. You've got some incredible skin detail. Like, look at how beautiful that is. Until you get really nice and close, I don't think you can really appreciate how impressive the skin detail is on this Acrocanthosaurus. And then moving back again into the thigh, you have that very big muscular looking thigh. And we do have the calf muscle over here, but you can see it's not quite as flexing or tensing because again that leg is picking up off of the ground as it's taking a step. You've got the kneecap right there. Beautiful, again, bird-like foot on this side, but you can see how the toes are curved very nicely as the foot is leaving the ground to take a step. Beautifully done in that area as well. And then you have more skin wrinkles and everything back here behind the thigh leading up into the tail, again showing the movement of the thigh playing off of that skin there on the tail. As you lead out the length of the tail, you again see the stripes transition to a darker kind of a reddish brown with a black outline, and it looks great. And you can also see the lighter tone of color gets lighter the further out we get as well. You can see it's almost a white by the time you reach the tip of the tail. But that is just a phenomenal Acrocanthosaurus, far and away the best Acrocanthosaurus that I have in my collection. Like, I have some nice ones, but nothing can compete with this gorgeous PNSO version. As always, you have a stand for your Acrocanthosaurus just in case it has any stability issues, but mine's standing really nicely so far. For a length, you're looking at right around 12 3/4 inches or around 32.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would definitely be the back of our Acrocanthosaurus. You're looking at right around 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Acrocanthosaurus. And you can see it definitely sports a pretty darn impressive size. It is not gigantic, but it definitely sports a nice size. I would say a larger medium approaching a smaller large style figure, but definitely very nicely sized. And then for a second size comparison and a requested size comparison from Stego Tyranno 420, you can see that we have the Safari LTD Feathered Tyrannosaurus Rex next to the Acrocanthosaurus. The Rex obviously is a bit larger than the Acrocanthosaurus, but the Acrocanthosaurus definitely can hold its own here against that Rex. Then we have the PNSO Triceratops here next to our Acrocanthosaurus, and the Triceratops from PNSO is definitely a strong contender for any theropod attempting to take it down. It is a very sizable Triceratops. You could definitely see that here next to the Acrocanthosaurus. Then we've got ourselves the PNSO Iguanodon next to the Acrocanthosaurus. Looks like it could be a very similar size, I would say, to the Acrocanthosaurus. Actually, pretty similar in body mass as well. And then we've got ourselves the Centrosaurus, which is one of my favorite PNSO figures, I think, up until this point. Also a very nicely sized figure, but not too large, a little on the smaller side. We've also got the Allosaurus from PNSO next to the Acrocanthosaurus. Again, a gorgeous Allosaurus. I love that figure, but I love everything PNSO produces at this point. They have been on such a roll for such an extended period of time. It's honestly crazy how many great figures they have produced. You're seeing that here just with the different figures I'm bringing in for comparisons. And I have to keep turning the Acrocanthosaurus around to get more of like a superior view depending on the positioning of the figure that I'm bringing in to size up with it. But there is the Carcharodontosaurus next to our Acrocanthosaurus going snout to snout, and you can see those as well are a pretty similar size, not too far off from each other. And then we have the recently released Sinraptor from PNSO, which might at this point be one of my all-time favorites from PNSO, but the Acrocanthosaurus as well is very, very high up on that list as far as my favorites go. And then the final comparison is yet another figure that I had to turn the Acrocanthosaurus around for again, but we have Wilson the Tyrannosaurus Rex next to our Acrocanthosaurus. And again, Wilson I feel like is definitely a popular figure from PNSO. Many people have that one, so I thought that would be a good final comparison here next to our brand new Acrocanthosaurus. So this PNSO Acrocanthosaurus is just about as drop-dead gorgeous of an Acrocanthosaurus as you're ever going to find. I honestly don't know that I'll ever see one that's nicer than this. The sculpt is phenomenal, so insanely highly detailed, and at this point I think PNSO may be the best company out there currently producing fine detail on their figures, because when you look at the sculpts and the realism of their sculpts, it is crazy. Like, so insane how many skin wrinkles they have and movement shown in their sculpts, and how amazing the very, very fine scale detail is, and all of the osteoderms and just the inside of the mouth. It's amazing how highly detailed these models truly are. I really don't know that anybody can touch PNSO when it comes to detailing on their figures. But the paint jobs as well just seem to get better and better with every release. And this is probably one of the nicest paint jobs I've seen from PNSO in quite some time as well. Like, it is super, super appealing as far as the application of the paint. The design they came up with as well looks great. The tones of color all transition back and forth in an incredibly smooth and naturalistic way. There's quite a bit of variation of color that you may not even pick up on until you get it nice and close and in a nice light and really take it all in to see how beautiful the figure is. It is incredible when it comes to the different tones of color used. And again, as far as honestly everything when it comes to this figure goes, it is an A+. If there were a grading system, that's exactly what this one would get. The sculpt is fantastic. The paint is fantastic. The size is pretty much perfect. It actually balances really nicely as of right now as well. So easily the best Acrocanthosaurus in my collection, no doubt about it. So if you are interested in picking this up, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on the Amazon PNSO store as well as the Aliexpress PNSO store. Either way, no matter which way you go, it is worth purchasing because it is amazing. So make sure you do that, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.